with you. There have been headlines in the last few hours about you calling President Biden weak. What did you mean by that? What are you saying?
Well, I'm just reflecting what the polls are telling everybody. He's losing in every battleground state. He's behind in most national polls, and his approval numbers are at historic lows, 3 points below Donald Trump at the same stage in his presidency, and 9 points below Barack Obama. I mean, I don't know how anybody can look at these numbers and determine that he is anything but weak. And I think Tuesday night will once again show at not just a poll, but an actual primary. If his numbers are below the typical 84, 81% that Clinton and Obama got, I think it's just more evidence of the fact that Democrats right now are deluded. And we need a competition, not a coronation.
Thank you. CBS, Jake Rosen.
Hey, Jake. Well, I'm not used to looking down there.
So just talk about your expectations. Obviously, since the last time we spoke, you said 20% would be good. That's the historical precedent for an incumbent up here in New Hampshire.
Slide it back, please.
Have you felt any change with the crowd size, with the momentum you felt like you've gotten to potentially do better than that?
Well, yeah, about a week ago, I was sitting lonely in front of a coffee truck that I think you pointed out. And now look, it's amazing what can happen. I mean that very sincerely. Yeah, there's been a change. In fact, the tracking poll that started, I think we're at 0. Just the last one was at 32%, going up every single week. I wish we had a longer runway, but I think Tuesday's going to be quite surprising. If I'm in the 20s, that's great. But I think back to your question, if the president is anywhere in the 50s or 60s, I mean, is that not an indictment on a sitting incumbent president? That's all I'm trying to demonstrate to our country right now. He's not a bad man, but he's not electable in an extraordinarily consequential election that we should be having a competition.
NBC National.
During your remarks earlier, you had mentioned that you're going to be doing everything you can to ensure New Hampshire's delegates count. Could you expand on what you're referring to? Is that legal action or what steps should be taken?
Well, first, I think it's a miscarriage of justice and certainly an affront to democracy for the Democratic National Committee, the Democratic Party, to have the audacity to tell Granite State voters that this is meaningless and their delegates won't be seated. It is atrocious. So, yes, I think I have a responsibility, first of all, as a sitting member of Congress, secondly, as an American, third, as a candidate for president, to do everything I can to ensure that they are seated one way or another, whether I'm the nominee or not, and I intend to be the nominee.
And what does that look like, doing everything in your power?
Advocacy, investigating legal channels, but most importantly, telling the country what's really going on. In the absence, in the silence that is permeating these big issues, how in the world could anybody ensure that we find justice? It's nonsensical, and that's the story I hope some of you might tell.
CNN, Allie Main.
Congressman, if you do move on, you were describing your path beyond New Hampshire.
Yeah.
What would that campaigning look like? Would you be making ad buys elsewhere? Just walk us through a little bit of what's after this state.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking I might just head to South Carolina right after this because that's going right to the belly of the beast. It's Biden country. I want to demonstrate that I am here to meet every American where they're at. I'm going to show up, not just for a speech at a dinner, but to actually meet people, answer their questions, do town halls. I wish the president would debate and introduce myself. And I can't wait to get to it. Are we on a small budget compared to the big campaigns? Of course we are. And I love it. That's how we've always built success. But we're seeing a huge uptick in grassroots support from around the country. Despite being denied Democratic donor lists and Democratic consultants for finance, we're doing it the old-fashioned way and bootstrapping it. And I think we can show some real surprise. I'm going to show up and run to the fire, not away from it.
ABC Kelsey.
Congressman, back in November, you said...
Kelsey. I see. Can you make a little space maybe for...
Yeah. Thank you. Back in November, you said that Liz Cheney... if she were to enter a third party, she's only helping Donald Trump. Now you speak very highly, and there was news yesterday about no labels. What are these conversations like with Nancy Jacobson, and what are the conversations like with no labels?
Well, I'm a Democrat. I've been a lifelong Democrat. I'm appalled by how my party is behaving, and further appalled that my own party does not seem intent on beating Donald Trump in the next election. So all I'm trying to do is call attention to the fact that we have a task to do. And we can either do it in a way that coronates someone who's going to lose or have a competition. All I'm going to do is look at data to drive my decisions. The data said that Joe Biden will lose. We needed to have an alternative. I raised my hand when nobody else will. I'm going to continue to look at data. I am a Democrat. I'm a proud Democrat. And I'm concerned about my party. And I'm going to do whatever I can to save it and give us a chance to win, period. And I will do anything on any day following truth, data, and facts to make that decision. And I think Democrats should be doing the same thing. Don't leave anything off the table in our effort to defeat Donald Trump. Because if the Democratic Party will not do it with us, we have got to find some way to achieve that. That's my only metric.
USA Today.
What is your message to unaffiliated and independent voters in the state
who may be considering voting in the Republican presidential primary for someone such as Nikki Haley as a way to defeat Donald Trump rather than voting in the Democratic primary for you?
What I say is, first of all, I respect what you end up doing, but at the end of the day, how about voting for hope and possibility and optimism? Actually, someone who could defeat the incumbent president who is so weak. Donald Trump is not weak in the GOP primaries. He is crushing everybody, including Miss Haley. That's the truth. Ron DeSantis, I think, is dropping out of the race today. He has eliminated everybody within a week of the first primary in the country, and that's the truth. If people vote for Nikki Haley, that's their prerogative. But if you want to actually accomplish the mission, vote out of hope. Let's exit President Biden, a good man, who I think is going to step down when the writing's on the wall. Much more likely scenario to achieve the objective. Don't be deluded into thinking that's the path, because she cannot beat Donald Trump, and nor can Joe Biden.
Final question, Huffington Post.
In terms of Medicare for All, an issue that has been raised in previous Democratic primaries is the question of the fact that the way this policy has been laid out in various legislation is along the Canadian lines, that it would replace all existing private health insurance, and there wouldn't really be a possibility for supplemental aside for cosmetic things. That's widely seen as politically challenging, to put it one way. Where do you stand specifically on how that plan will look?
I have sponsored the bill because I think it's a marker, and I think it also needs modification. I am 100% behind a national health insurance program. We will save money, generate better outcomes, have a mental and emotional health care system, eye and dental, and I think that's the basis for everyone to know. I see it as more analogous to our public education system. Have a robust, available health insurance program for everybody. For those who wish to amplify it with concierge care, I see that as like private schools, charter schools, parochial schools, or home schools. That's freedom and liberty for Americans to do that on their own. But to deny 25 million people care is atrocious. It would be a hybrid. But never would I support the government becoming engaged in the delivery of care. This is about the coverage of care and allowing us to finally negotiate with pharmaceutical companies who are absolutely causing the worst tragedies for Americans right now by charging us 2-3 times more than anywhere else in the world. We have got to do better, and this is the only way to achieve it. I've looked at every other option, and I'm going to package it in a way that will make sense to conservatives. It'll be the most moderate, centrist position I think any politician can and must take, and we are way behind the curve, and we still have a little bit of time until the system becomes a disaster.
All right. Great, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're wrapping.
All the way out here for God's sake. What's your main motivation to run for president?
We'll do one for California.
My main motivation to run for president is to save freedom and democracy for the entire free world and turn the page to a new generation of leaders all around the world who are waiting to do this better.
Congressman, you talked about grassroots support. There are stories that back-channel Democratic donor base is talking to you, tech industry. They're helping finance your campaign. And they're saying the quiet part to you that they're not saying to the rest of the DA. Is there truth to that?
Yeah, there's truth to that. There are a lot of people who are ostensibly helping this campaign who don't want their names known, and that's because they're afraid of this machine that would condemn. By the way, that's actively condemning those who might come to an event of mine, support this effort. I don't spend a whole lot of time fundraising. I try to meet people. That's what I'm doing. So I can't answer those questions specifically. But yes, there is a pervasive and comprehensive plan in place to try to deplatform and create a coordination and shame those who might have the audacity to support someone who might win. But we'll get over that.
Governor Gavin Newsom, is he in denial as far as you're concerned about supporting Joe Biden?
My message to Governor Newsom, Governor Pritzker, Governor Whitmer is jump in, the water's warm, and practice democracy. Don't do the tap dance. Come on in. Let's do it together. And by the way, if the objective is to beat Donald Trump, I think that's the best way to do it.
Thank you, guys. We're out of here. Go right this way. We love you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Real quick.